Good afternoon. This is PyCon Sweden 2021, day 2 of our conference, and we are in the software track. Now we finish our software track with the last talk, which is called Zaunic, Acceleration Simplified with Python. And I'm really glad to introduce you to our guest and speaker, RAZA BALBALE, who is from Dallas, Texas. Good afternoon and welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Can we get started?
Let me just introduce you very quickly.
Sure.
So RAZA is currently a senior architect manager at Cognizant Technology Solutions in the United States, part of the Connected Products BU's product engineering team, and he frequently uses Python as part of his DevOps acceleration toolkit. So RAZA, now the stage is yours and you can begin, please.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew, for that introduction. Thank you for having me again at PyCon Sweden. Firstly, I'm super excited to share some of the developments that I've been having over the last year. So just a little bit of intro about what I do. So essentially, I'm part of the connected products team at Cognizant, and a lot of the solutions that I'm building are, around customizing, IoT solutions and helping people leverage the cloud to build those IoT solutions. So that's essentially what I do. I have been in the developer architect space for a little more than a decade. So, it's just doing a lot of full stack development, doing a lot of, web applications and, custom solutions of that nature. So over the period of time, one thing that I've seen consistently is, just the whole DevOps machinery, how it's kind of evolved, how a lot of the tooling has, improved over time, right? And in essence, everything is just centered around trying to, go to market faster, trying to, make those decisions faster and trying to move faster. So I'm always keen about, what's the best tool that can try to, help me get there faster, right? And this talk is kind of, centered around that. So I have been, working on this tool on the side and, trying to build it, trying to utilize this as part of my DevOps machinery. So yeah, let me go ahead and share that with you. So let's get started and let's try to address what this Zaunic tool is and how's it kind of, helpful to you. All right. So in essence, Zaunic is nothing but an acceleration toolkit, right? And when I say a toolkit, the reason I call it a toolkit is because it has all these different tooling, for specific use cases, right? In essence, it does like code generation, config management. So if you have like, infrastructure services that you want to manage, it's definitely a good tool for you to, utilize. If you want to do even things like, just call APIs, call REST APIs and things of that nature. So all of this like bundled together is what, what forms Zaunic as a toolkit. Uh, I try to put this, in a very from a business perspective. There are certain principles by which I try to guide this tool, right? And when it comes to delivering value using this tool, it's around speed, repeatability, and security, right? So these are like key considerations under which I'm trying to build all these toolings inside the toolkit. Uh, Code generation, I think forms the core in a way, because it just happens to make you move faster. I have added a ton of new features over the last year, so I'd be happy to share that as we look at the key features and things over there. So how does this help you, right? From a business perspective, how is this helpful to you? One thing I think it's kind of consistently it tries to do is try to develop this sort of bias for action, right? Like, how do you move faster, right? If you are able to generate code, you're definitely able to move faster. If you are able to manage your infrastructure at scale consistently, definitely you are moving faster. So those are some of the ways in which it kind of helps you. Also, I think one of the key factors is, having that sort of consistency. So when you have things that are templated, things that are, formulated and stored at a particular place, it just makes movement that much more faster, that much more easier. So definitely it kind of aligns towards that whole bias for action, right? And some of the strong use cases that I'm seeing, especially when it comes to, say, onboarding new people onto projects, right? So if you're an engineering manager and if you're trying to onboard new engineers onto your team, this definitely helps you, kind of lock in that environment and get people started, right? So if you're doing, especially if you're doing like some greenfield projects, right? Technologies that you probably have not, not kind of locked in and you're not too comfortable with. But initially, setting up all that boilerplate, the environments for developers to go and deliver value, that is something that's kind of a stickler. And I've seen that across the board. Definitely, if you have the right tooling, it definitely helps you move faster. And the usual, the automation, right? In any sense, any kind of software that you're developing, you need some level of automation, right? Either it's for your deployments, either it's just, like I said, to orchestrate your infrastructure and things of that nature. Repeatability. One thing that I see is that, like I said, for greenfield projects, if you're trying to be too experimental, it's difficult to lock in, right? And once you have reached certain amount of, say, critical mass, and you feel that, hey, what we're doing right now is good for new engineers to come and just pick up. That's where some of the templating services in Zaunic kind of help you to keep things dry, do not repeat yourself, and just go with that whole paradigm. So in essence, this is what it is at a high level. Let's now look at what's the tool. What does it really do for us, right? And these are some of the very specific things that Zaunic is going to do for you. It's going to help you generate code. It's going to help you write, manage your secrets. So one of the things that I saw over the last few months is that code generation is good, but certain times you want to obfuscate certain details. The way Zaunic kind of manages, there is a built-in, secret store within the application or within the services. But additionally, you can also leverage what's out there in the cloud. And I'll walk through some of that, how you can leverage and how you can use that part of your tooling. Template data reuse. Again, so some of the templates that you develop as part of your code generation mechanism, that's definitely you can use across. And what data you push to these templates is, it's variable. It has a many to many, mapping. So it's pretty flexible out there. Of course, all of this comes together only if you have certain, machinery to kind of execute this remotely. So I think that is something that I've kind of developed over the last few weeks. The fact that you can connect to certain remote machines, because this wouldn't be of value unless and until you can do it at scale. If you want to do it, say, for 40 servers, if you want to set up the boilerplate environment for your engineers, what do you do? So that's where this whole remote execution is kind of helpful. The one thing that I'm kind of nibbling over the last few weeks is, again, managing REST API calls. And I've always thought about what's the value add if you're able to make REST calls from within this toolkit. I think one is I use it for like probing services and checking if they are up and running. So that's one of the use cases that I'm kind of using it. As this toolkit evolves, I may be setting it like as cron jobs or something that's repetitive in nature, where you can keep probing services, and that kind of goes to the whole observability mechanism. So definitely that's going to evolve over time, but right now that's how I'm kind of leveraging that. So that's kind of a quick summation of what the features are. So let's look at what the actual implementation piece looks like, right? Like what's this architecture? What does it really do? Zaunic has this whole abstraction called task flows. Task flows is like the highest thing, basically the highest atomic unit that you can think of, right? where it basically orchestrates all these tasks. So say I want to generate code, I want to push that somewhere, I want to execute certain scripts and things of that nature. Who's going to what's going to tie all of that together, right? Because these are multiple activities, and that's where task flows tie all of this together. So regarding these actions, why I've kind of tried to emphasize this here on the slide, I've thought a little bit about what are the high level generalizations that can help me move faster, right? And when I think hard about it, not trying to be too specific about, hey, this is a specific action, at a high level, I think if you can encompass all these four actions together, that should do a good amount of work for you. That should help you move really fast, build solutions really fast. So if you're able to generate, if you're able to mobilize some of the content that you're generating, if you're able to execute and interact with your servers and infrastructure, that's helpful. And if you're able to ping APIs and interact with them, again, that's helpful. So at a high level, that's why I've kind of generalized all the actions that you can do with a task to these four. It does a lot of work, and when you look at the demos, it's definitely going to make a lot more sense. All right. So I think that's enough of talk. I wanted to save more time for demo and helping you walk through what this really looks like. So let's just jump in, and let me just show you the code structure. And so let's just jump in, and let me just show you the. Okay, I think I'm hearing an echo. Okay, I think I'm hearing an echo. Andrew, are you hearing an echo?
Yes, a little bit.
Andrew, are you hearing an echo? Okay, let me just see if I have some.
I believe it's on YouTube. You just have to stop it. Yeah.
Okay. How about now?
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. So let me just walk through, this project structure of Zaunic and what it really looks like. So we talked about task flows, but just before I jump into task flows, there's something called a runner, right? Basically, this is the entry point for the application where it's kind of triggering all these task flows, right? And in essence, I can go ahead and trigger specific task flows, right? Like for instance, what you're seeing on the screen. I'll be triggering very specific pieces of what I've defined. So I've defined a few task flows for this demo specifically, but I'm going to execute only a few of them, and then we'll get a good sense of what it looks like. Let's look at what the task flows themselves look like, right? And let's start with this this minimal .NET application that I'm generating using all of my my Zaunic toolkit. So if you look at some of the tasks that are defined here, right? And I hope this is kind of visible to you and clear enough. I can zoom in a little more. So these tasks, some of them are execute, some of them are generating content, and also I'm able to mobilize some of the content, right? So not everything has to be a template, right? Like for instance, if you have a boilerplate project, not every file in that needs to be a template, right? Because you probably don't customize that one as much. So what I've done is I've taken very specific elements that need to be generated, and I'm pushing that over to the server. So that's happening through this task flow. If you look at the top of the task flow, it says these sample nodes. So where is that coming from, right? And that set of nodes where I want to execute is coming from here. So if you see most of the stuff that you're looking at, it's a lot of YAML configs and things of that nature. Now, if you're seeing the passwords are it's kind of a mishmash right now because the way the system or the mechanism that I have put in place just to add these new nodes and manage their credentials is kind of encrypting all those credentials out there. Obviously, when you run the commands, it's going to do that in the background where it'll just reach out to the server and be able to communicate with it. So this is the setting up the nodes where I want to basically run that task flow. There is extensive documentation on the GitHub repository of the project, and we'll talk about that a little later. But it talks about how you can go add nodes, how you can add secrets, how you can manage your task flows and execute them. So a lot of that is in pretty extensive detail on the GitHub repository. So you should be able to use some of that. All right. So we've got the setup. Now let me just show you real quick. So this is an application that right now, if you see, I'm trying to ping this and there's nothing running, right? So I have set up a minimal .NET API, and I'm just I've set up the task flow for it basically. So I haven't like written a ton of code. I've created the templates which will generate the application for me. And if you come over here, if you look at the program.cs, and the way I've done it, I have imputed some data on it, right? And this data, let me show you what that data looks like. So this is your template, and that data looks like this. So if you look at this, this is basically reflecting the routes that are going to be built on that application. So let's just go ahead and execute this. And I'm going to take a second here. I'm going to comment all the other ones. Let's run this specific one. Pull up. And if you're, so just in terms of compatibility, this is something that I've tested on Ubuntu and Windows Subsystem for Linux. I have not tested this on a pure Windows command line, so I don't think that's the ideal environment for you. For now, I can only promise support for Ubuntu and WSL. So let me just go ahead, and this is basically once you get into the command line, there's a command to kind of set you up for running commands from Zaunic. And it's there in the documentation, so you should be good over there. So let me just show you. If you want to see all the commands, you just type cn-help, and that should give you the list of commands, right? So just in the interest of this demo, I have kind of try to keep it brief. And since I want to execute all my task flows, the ones which are uncommented there, so I'm just going to do a Zaunic run all, and so this is what it's going to do in the background, right? It's going to copy all those templates, and we can look back here at our task flow. So it's going to copy all those templates, generate all those templates, and generate code using that, copy some of the files, right, for the minimal API, and also go ahead and execute that in the background. So if I come here again and now run this, so you see I'm starting to see things here. And since it's an API, I'm going to call Swagger here. And if you see, yeah. So all these were defined in the data that we passed on to the template, right? It's pretty simple right now. There's not much going on with these APIs. You can do a little more complex. So let's just up the ante a little bit and try to see how much of more complexity can we do with this, right? And for that, I'm going to call a fast API. Since we are at PyCon, we got to do something that's pure Python. So let me just call the and the way. So here's the thing. In terms of strategy, you can break your task flows into multiple task flows, just to keep it sane. Because here's the thing. If you're trying to build or set up an environment, there will be multiple steps that are required for it, right? I do not recommend that you stuff all of that into one task flow and try to execute that end to end. What I would do is I would kind of break it into multiple task flows, like I'm doing it right now over here. All right. So this is another web API, and I guess it's not working at this point. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to generate the code, which will spin up a containerized database instance, a Postgres instance. Also, it is going to generate a backend application, a web API using Fast API, right? Fast API, by the way, is a really cool tool. Definitely would recommend you taking that for a spin. It helps you generate APIs like, really quick, generates documentation, generates the open API spec for it, like right out of the box. So I think there's some really cool stuff with Fast API. So just a little shout out to folks out there. All right, so I'm going to now lock this, and let's now try to execute this set of task flows. All right, so I'm going to do this from my local instance. And let's just do run all again. Okay. And it takes a little bit longer. The reason being, again, it's spinning up that container in the background, and it's getting that database set up and all of that for us to work with. So now when I refresh, you can see a real web API here. So you see the convenience that is coming with this. You use an orchestrator like TaskFlow, add all these generation tasks. Some places, like I said, you just push content from your developer machine to this other instance. You can push configurations and get things up and running. So and just to show you in the background what happened there, so I'm going to do an ls/fast API. Okay, I need to be on the remote server. So yeah, so now if we do an ls fast API, you see it generated all of that for us, right? And it does not have to be necessarily that, hey, you have to do just fast API. It's kind of agnostic to what solution that you're building behind this. So in the interest of time, that's it for the demo. And so here's a little bit brief before I take questions. I'm open for people who want to contribute to this project. It's again, it's a very simple, lightweight way to just accelerate your method of delivering solutions. So there are specific areas which I'm working on, which over time, I'm trying to reorganize a little bit of the core code, because right now it's a monolith. Just want to break that apart into microservices so that it becomes easily interactable. And need to add some more validators for the YAML schemas and things of that nature. So if you wish to contribute, feel free to do that. Definitely, there's room for contributors. It's there on GitHub, and let me just show that real quick. That's the URL. It's github.com/RAZA/Zaunic. So that should get you to the project. So if you want to make commits to this, feel free to do that. Raise a PR, and I'll be happy to take a look. So, yep, that is it for now for this toolkit. And I hope this has been informative. I hope this is, even if you do not want to leverage this tool, I hope it gives you kind of, enough room to think about, how do you build some sort of a mechanism to move faster and, just churn out projects real quick. So that's it for me. Do I have any questions?
Thank you, Raza. It was very quick. You have 7 minutes left.
Okay. Yeah.
Very, very intense.
Yeah. I'm good on the time. Actually, I wanted to keep this brief because this is that kind of project where, the more hands-on you get, that's how you really tend to enjoy this and, kind of make sense of this all. So if somebody wants to take it for a spin, definitely that's a good idea. There's enough documentation on the on GitHub to kind of get you up and running.
We have one question from Ilio. So let's see. What's the difference from Ansible?
Okay, yeah, good point. So here's where I'm trying to move away from the typical services like Ansible, and Ansible has done a phenomenal job. It's a really big ecosystem. This is I try to keep the project as simplistic as possible. If you look at the code base, it's very like minimalistic, and that's how I kind of intend to keep it. So it's over time. I don't want to make it like too clunky. The other thing, so the other aspects that I'm kind of working on is having support for multiple templating engines. So if you want to do, say, handlebars, if you want to do right now it's using Jinja, but try to have additional templating engines and things of that nature. So one of the things, like just going back to that aspect, is how to keep this project as simplistic as possible, because certain projects over time, as they evolve, they tend to become far more complex and things of that nature. Yeah, so it's kind of similar in nature. It's trying to address similar problems, but I wouldn't call it the same, just given that simplicity is kind of key to what Zaunic tries to do. I hope that answers the question.
Slavik is clapping in excitement. Let me try to ask you. So the default configuration format is YAML. Are there any plans to have something more, or do you believe this is enough? Probably just not to complicate the things.
Okay, yeah, very good point. That's actually, I'll take that as a suggestion. And I've kind of had these debates where a lot of people just hate working with YAML, and that's just reality. So definitely, I will be considering JSON, .ini files, and other formats to impute data. That's definitely something that I'm going to take that as a suggestion and incorporate some of that, because it'll be useful. I think just trying to be very pushy and asking people to conform to specific structures, it's never a good idea. So definitely that can be part of the roadmap. Thank you for that suggestion, though.
Mm-hmm. Great talk.
Well, thank you.
And Erasmus is clapping as well. So far, no more questions. In any case, people would be able to reach you through Slack or probably by email, whatever.
Yes. Yeah. And
They have
I
any
think you
questions
can
for?
DM me on Twitter or any other platform as well. I'd be happy to take your questions and think about this more.
Okay, if there are no more questions, then we will try to finish. This was the last talk in the track, and technically we finish the conference soon. So
Well,
it was a pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for coming and sharing these ideas and showing this nice project. I also thank to the members of our audience for questions and comments. Thank you all.
thank you. Thank you so much.
We will be very happy to see you next year at the same conference and probably in real life, if it will be possible.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Then, bye-bye to everyone. We finish our broadcast.